Almost there. All right, we're good to go. So we're gonna start today. We're gonna go over getting your lofty set up. So I know there's a lot of people that need some help with this. It can be a little overwhelming, so we're gonna get right to it. I'm gonna share my screen. That way we can start. So I will ask if you do have any questions, just do the raise your hand, or if it's pertaining to what we're gonna go over and I'm moving on, just unmute yourself and just say, hey, I got a question. No issues there. We want to make sure there's no questions left unanswered. Worst case, put them in the chat, and I will get to them. If I can't get to them right now as we're talking, it's a little further, a little bit more work to do, then we can do a one-on-one as well to get everything sorted out. So no issues there. All right, do you see my lofty here? You see, everyone see this? Just want to make sure everyone's good. If someone can come on, unmute themselves and let me know that you're actually seeing the right page. Hello? Can you guys hear me? Okay, thumbs up, got it. All right, so when we're getting our lofty set up, so there's a couple of things you want to do. Obviously, if this is your first time using it, you're not going to have any leads in there at all. So before we actually go in and start setting up your leads, we're going to start with just the settings tab. So as you notice, everything at the top. And before I get into that, I will backtrack a little bit. We'll just go over kind of the buttonology we're seeing here, right? And we'll get into more detail of this. So people, if you always click people here, it's going to go to your lead tab, right? That way you're able to go in and adjust your settings accordingly. So you're going to see that mine has the updated, or I'm sorry, this is the enterprise version. So my personal one, I have the team chime. I was able to do that because I wanted to make sure my pipelines were all set up accordingly. So if you're interested in a team version, we can talk about that at a later time. So, all right, next they have, and we're going to go into more detail again on each one. Next, we have transactions. So you can add each transaction that you have. So you can keep track of your volume. You can go in, you can edit each document, each transaction. You can add your CDAs, you can add your closing docs. So you can have somewhere that you can keep all your files in order, and you can go back and review those if you need to. That it makes things very easily to filter through. So it's also set up through purchase. So those buyers you got under contract, listing, those closed listings you have. I'm not sure why that one's still lingering, but that's kind of what it looks like, right? And then you have your leases. So if anyone deals with leases, renters, you can put that in there as well, or other. So I use other for referrals. So if I have a referral, I'll put it in this category just so I can track it a little differently. And then, but when you do all of your volume and everything is in there. So you notice at the top, and this is just one example of a closing I had earlier this year that I wanted to give an example. You can talk your volume, total GCI, your net commission, everything, right? So it makes things very easily, you can track everything very easily. When you want to go into the transactions, and you can take a look at that. We're going to take a look at that a little later. Then you have your calendar. Sorry, I was already digging into each one. I'm just going to go over the top. All right, so calendar, you can integrate into your Google Calendar and other items here to keep track of your meetings. This is where the listings are going to be. When you have an actual listing on your MLS, this is where they're going to show up, and you can manage them. You can do all kinds of cool things and features with those. Then you have your campaigns. So if you're going to do direct mail or anything of that nature, this is where it's going to happen. And you notice that each category that I click on, so I click on campaigns off to the left, you have a whole nother section of settings here, right? So there's a lot of information that goes into each one. Reporting. So if I'm looking at my accountability, I'm looking at, okay, I need to make X amount of calls or send X amount of emails a day or per week, or however you want to look at that. You can keep track of everything here. And then your website. So mine's not going to have it if it because I'm on the team, and I'll show you what mine looks like a little later. But this is, if it's not set up, that's what it's going to pop up, right? So, clicked on the same one. Then marketplace. Marketplace is where you're going to add your various different ads, or you're going to do your farming, brand awareness. There's just so much in this section you can add on. Some of the stuff you have to pay for, but a lot of cool features in there. And then lastly, settings on the top part. This is where we're going to start. You notice there's a lot of settings on the side. And then up here, this section here, this is a super important section for a few different reasons. All right. So for one, you can just click on that and type in a lead's name and you can find them. So if I do, because I have like 3, I kept some random leads in there. So if I do that, like, it's going to pop up all the leads that have that name, and it's also going to show you deleted leads as well. So you can keep track, like, why is that one no longer populating? Oh, it was deleted by accident, or whatever the case may be. This part here goes into your inbox. So you can look at all your communications here directly at a separate screen. I like to pull that up and I keep it off as a separate tab so that if my clients are reaching out while I'm at my desk, then I can take a look at that. It's a little easier than having to go down to this section where it has all your text. So for some reason, this happens when you have 2 different accounts. My lead texted me a question here, and I didn't see it because it went to my enterprise account while I'm using my other account. So if you do have an enterprise and you switch, make sure that you're keeping track. You're making sure that leads aren't going back to the other one, because this happens, right? But you can send messages directly from here. At the bottom, you can send pictures. You have the AI function as well. Pictures, video. So if you can have a video of like right now, the rates just dropped. So what I plan on doing is doing a short video, sending that out to my leads. I won't do it this way. There's a better way to do it. But if I wanted to send a direct message to a client, then I can do that here. And then there's templates. Templates are great if you're going in and talking to your leads for follow-up, and you kind of have the same idea. For example, that on the rate piece, you can type in, hey, rates just dropped, was just curious if you're interested in taking a look at some homes, or however you want to formulate that. Then you can have that in the template, so you don't have to recreate that every time. Okay. Just going to move this setting out here, make sure no one's, and if for some reason someone's in the chat and I'm not seeing it, if someone can pop up on the and just say something, unless I have to unmute you. I might have to unmute you. That's okay. All right, and then you have lead variables and agent variables. So if you want to create a template, and you just want to say, instead of typing that lead's name every time, you can go in and say, hi, lead name, right? And it populates for that particular lead. So that way you can send a mass email out or a mass text out and just have that lead name in there as a variable. You can go through, there's lead variables, all different types. So as you're building your templates, as you're building your smart plans, your email templates, things of that nature, these are things you can add in there. So custom field birthday, right? I don't have my client's birthday. Shame on me. I need to go get that. But you can add those items in there. And then as well as you can say Brandon, right? It's going to say Brandon Lecoq for full name. You can just put that. It would be, otherwise it would be lead name. I'm sorry, agent name. That's kind of how it would look like when you're building out your templates. Does that make sense? Hopefully it does. All right. So, all right. Now, this is the opportunities tab. So this is where if you have a lead that comes back to your site that's been maybe not present for a few months or a few days, and they come back to the site, this is where they're gonna put this there. They're gonna put this notification here. So you can go in and reach out to that lead and say, hey, notice you're looking, or however you want to approach the lead, right? But just wanted to see if I could do anything for you. Like, these are great opportunities because one, it shows we know that they're looking. So this is a great opportunity to take advantage of looking at those clients, those leads. All right. Now, this piece is all the leads that are going to be, so my other instance, for example, on the Ridgeline group, that's the one I use. And I'll show you guys that in a minute here. But it'll show you, let me just show you that now because it might be a little confusing. Whoa, not found. That's not good. All right, you see here, that's the lead that came in, these opportunities as well. Then you have, if someone texts you or messages you directly, it'll be here, as well as comms. So you can check in to all the communications that's going on. So this is like a quick little check-in. Hey, what do I have? Do I have a transaction that I need to figure out? Do I need to have what are my tasks? So some people like to see their tasks and go through them. You can go in and quickly look at that, or you can look at who the AI is talking to, right? And you can adjust all these in the settings. All right, that's under the bell notification. So any notification that's coming from your leads, whatever that may look like, that's going to be there. Here's the tab that if you need help, right? If you need help setting up your chime like we're doing today, if you have a question, you're not sure about anything, my go-to, first, I go to show me how, and then I type in, let's just say MLS, right? If I'm getting my MLS set up and I'm not sure, look, MLS FAQs. So you're going to have a ton of information. This filters through the help section and it just populates that. So if I click on that, it'll open up in a new tab, and obviously it's going to be the help center. So you can go in and it tells you exactly what you need to do step by step to add a new MLS, but I'm going to show you as well. Next on that list is Help Center. So that just takes you directly where we were just at, but now you can search. So if you need anything that's related to IDX, your website, CRM, whatever it may be, you're going to find it there. All right. And then Learning Center is neat because that's where all like the videos and how-to guides on getting set up as well. So admin onboarding. So if you need to onboard an admin, whether it's enterprise, multi-team, so there's just all kinds of different options here on the Learning Center that you can go in and get spun up on Lofty. Lofty updates, suggestive features. So you're like, hey, this would be really nice if we could do the XYZ, right? This is where you're going to do it. These two are phenomenal. So this is what I love to do when I have a question, I can't figure it out through the Help Center. What I go in, I just either click submit a ticket, right? So I click contact us. I can call them directly. Usually I just leave a message and that's going to send an email. I can attach my screenshots of whatever I'm doing. And they're pretty good at getting back to you in a timely manner. They don't always give you the right answer. They don't always give you kind of what you're looking for. You have to be pretty precise in your question and what's going on. And then usually they'll come and take a look at what's going on and go from there. The other option is for you to chat with support. Oh, I think I just did that. No, I didn't. So you can leave a message like we just showed you. You can call them as well. But this part is pretty neat. So if you're at your desk, you're working, you're like, I have time, right? You just type your issue and it's going to pop up and it's going to show under that issue in the queue, XYZ, however many people are in the queue. And then that way you know about, hey, I'm sixth in line, so I'm gonna be able to get taken care of pretty shortly. They're pretty good at responding. And then lastly, if you click on your picture here, you're going to see a few things. You're going to see your onboarding, so what you need to do to get your system set up. Then switch account. So this is where you need to be mindful. If you do have two accounts, so you have one, the enterprise that LPT provides for free, or if you want to pay for the team instance. And by the way, Ed Peterson and a few others are working on getting discounted rates for the team version because we see some value in that, and I think we're going to be able to get that, but nothing has been in concrete yet. So working on that. But you want to take note. So if you're having issues with your system, like I can't, for some reason, my lead's not able to reach me, make sure you're in the right instance. So I'm going to go back to my LPT Realty one to show you guys. We're going to dig into the settings section. So this is what I would advise you to do, is go through and click on every single one of these tabs and get familiar with them. So when you're setting up your profile, right, you're going to upload your information here. Okay. You're going to upload your picture, your name, email, whatever you want to use as a phone number, list your license ID, right? And then here's the important piece of the MLS. MLS takes a little while to get approved. So every MLS is a little different. I'm out of Colorado, so I have 3 different ones that I work in, because if I'm a little further south in Colorado Springs or up in Denver, I'm going to use different MLSs to have a wider coverage. So I added those. Likely, most of you will probably have 1 or 2 at the most, but you're going to want to go in and add that. So adding that MLS ID. So I don't want to remove it because then it's a pain to get it back. But if you need help getting your MLS agent ID added, just let me know. Or we go what I just showed you how to do, right? Show me how. We go MLS and it'll FAQ, because this is one of the bigger ones. But why do we want to have that MLS, right? We want to make sure that, oh, there's someone in the chat. Hold on. Oh, for the Tara asks, where are you capturing your leads? Listings, are they registering to grab their info? So it just depends. So for example, one way I capture leads is through the Lofty Open House app. You can set up your Open House app so when people can either scan the QR code or type their information in, and then it'll write directly into your system. And then you can automate a welcome letter. You can automate, put them on a smart plan and go from there. But it really depends. You can do landing pages on, you can do ads. So there's just so many different ways that can use your CRM to capture leads. Hope that answers your question. All right. So why do we want an MLS? Can MLS leads be imported? Do you mean like agents? Hold on, let me allow you to come off mute real quick. This might be a good conversation. So. Oh my gosh, I'm clicking everywhere. Where's my Zoom? Oh, here we go. Sorry. Sorry, y'all. This is the first time doing a live and while also sharing. So I'm trying to let you guys come off mute, but it's not working for some reason. Well, once I stop the YouTube live and the recording, then I will open it up for questions and then maybe post those in the comments. So, all right. So as far as leads, oh yeah, okay, I see what you mean. So what I would do, Sherry, she said that she enters her leads into her MLS contacts and then import them into Lofty, right? So I would export all those leads, right, into a CSV file, and then you can import them into Lofty and then go from there. There, if you go to the an FAQ for import, it'll show you how, but I'll show you where to go for that. All right, the next question was, what's the best way to customize the website and create drip campaigns? That's a great question, although that's a little bit more in depth. So I used someone to create my my website, and I'll add her info in LPT again, but that's who I did mine. And then drip campaigns, that's going to be your smart plans, and I'll show you how to get those set up, but we're not going to go too much in detail. So, and then what else? That's it for questions, right? All right, so back to it. So you're going to want to set up your you want to make sure that you set up your MLS, because if someone goes to your website and your MLS isn't set up, they're just going to see what the enterprise version is. So they're going to go to Florida. If you're in Florida, that's great, but I'm in Colorado. So when mine was set up, it all went to Florida. I was like, this isn't good. So my clients, when I went to Colorado, they couldn't see any homes on the market in my area. So you want to make sure you do that, because if you want your clients, you want your clients to stay in on your website, whether if it's searching, whether if it's CRM or CMAs, whatever it is, you want them to stay in your website so that you can control kind of what's going on and you can see what's going on as well. All right. And then you're going to put your personal website. So if you have a website, great. If you don't, I suggest getting one. I would not use the LPT generic one. You want to create your own branding, and that's why we're here at LPT. One of the reasons is that we can brand ourselves, right? So I created my own. I just went to GoDaddy and bought a website. All right. And then your signature. So in order to do a signature, like this standard one is kind of janky. It looks old school, right? So if I go into my current one, this is my signature block here. So I just created one on Wisestamp, and it makes things, much easier. You can download your app, reviews, all kinds of cool features, but it looks much nicer than the standard one that they give you. And if you have a way of creating a cool signature block, and you can import it via HTML. So if I go here, you can click this. Now that'll put it in code, right? And then you just copy and paste your code into that, and then it'll populate as your signature. All right, moving on. Preferences, time zones. So make sure your time zone set up. So some of you might be in Central, maybe in Eastern. You want to make sure that's set up. Working hours. I put this as from 7 to 8. At the end of the day, I think a lot of us will pick up the phone just about any time, as long as we're not sleeping. And then sending email. So if you have a domain, so you have a website, so you have, say, for instance, mine is cosliving.co, and I would email from that website. This is where you're going to set up your domain email. So other than that, don't mess with that. Additional emails, I always add my personal Gmail, because I want to use my Gmail as for anything. I don't want to have to go into the LPT email system, just for ease of use and consistency there. And then you can assign assistants, you can assign lenders. So if you have a lender, these are the 3 lenders, my go-to lenders. I can assign them. So any leads that come in, they'll automatically be assigned. And that's cool, because then they can go in and reach out to that contact and say, hey, saw you're working with Brandon. I just wanted to reach out, see if I can get you set up on a pre-approval. It makes things a little faster. And then now the client sees that as like, oh, wow, these people, they're on it, instead of you doing an intro text, waiting a day or two, whatever that may be. So you can do that. I haven't set up mine up, because I don't want to have to just choose one lender to go with. I want to, depending on the situation, I have 3 different lenders, different situations for each. All right. And then down here, you're going to see allow Lofty to assume access to your account. So this is great for when you're troubleshooting, you're having issues with your account, they'll go in and fix that. So if you're getting your domain set up, your IDX, there's some DNS, domain name server settings that you're going to have to set up in GoDaddy or whoever you're using for it to go to the right website. So some of, like myself included, sometimes it's a little overwhelming, but the Help Center has all the instructions step by step. All right. Notifications. All right, so this is how you're getting notified. It's pretty self-explanatory. I'm not going to go into too much detail there of what type of leads or opportunities, how they get notified. So you can mess with that. All right. Now, if you have a team, you can have all your agents in here, and you can modify how they get leads. You can do a lot of different things. You can see what their permissions are, right? So I'm a team of one right now, so there's not a whole lot going on for me, but you might need to add things like that. So you can create tags too. So if you need to tag an agent, you can tag their name on their on that lead. So then you can filter by tags and see, okay, I want to see all the leads that Brandon's working with right now. And then you go through and you can kind of monitor and see what your team's doing in a very easy and efficient way. Then this is the next part, is where you add your lenders. So if I'm going to add a lender, this is the information I need. I just need lender name and email. Pretty easy. Once and you can also share with others if you're on a team, or send cost sharing requests, right? I usually take these off because I'll have a conversation with them offline. But they're going to have to go into their Chime because they'll get a notification and put their picture, put their information. You can't do any of that. All right, vendor partners. This is cool. This is where you can have all your vendor partners. This section, so there's two sections of vendor partners. One's for your website. Two is for when you add a transaction, you can go in and there's a section in there that says vendor partners. You can actually see all the names. So you can say, hey, I want my home inspector, Corey Savage, on this deal, right? You can identify, and you can actually send them a message or an invite to participate, or just go to the actual inspection at a certain date and time through your CRM, which is super powerful. All right, lead routing and assignment group. I haven't dealt with a whole lot of this, right? If you are a team lead, I suggest you taking a look at this, or ask Lofty to walk you through. The help section is a great place to start for that. All right, now let's get into the nitty gritty here. Auto property alerts. So when you're looking at alerting your client, your leads come in, you can say, I want whoever, XYZ, to receive a property alert, receive a market snapshot, or a report. You have those three sections. Each one, you can say who you want to exclude, like pipeline wise. I want to make sure all these pipelines are excluded, or source. So if I want to make sure, like, oh, I don't want to do any of my Zillow sources for this particular alert, you can do that. All right. Got a notification somewhere. I wasn't sure where that was at. All right. Property status, you can say active. If you do all, then it might be a little overwhelming for them. So I usually just do coming soon and active. Days listed, any days, or unless you want to specify, I want to send all property alerts to this pipeline on properties that have been on the market for, less than XYZ, whatever it is. Location, same idea. You can do zip codes. You can do city as well. And then I am not sure what open house only. Oh, it means that if you want to only send open houses to a particular pipeline, then you can do that. But you can't have multiple property alerts per group. This is a very generic one that is through the masses, but you can go and individually adjust a lead and say, hey, I want this lead to have this type of property alert. So you can do that individually as well, but this is for the masses as they come in, right? I do Tuesday and Friday. So in the morning on Tuesday, it gives them time to digest that. And then Friday morning is great because then you can reach out and say, hey, I just sent you some properties. Are you interested in showing homes or looking at homes this weekend? Think with the market snapshot, same approach, right? You're identifying the lead types here. And then the frequency, I usually do bi-weekly. So every other week for this one on the market snapshot, and just once during that time frame. Lastly, market report. So this is a bit more in depth. This is what is what's going to be seen. And I'd have to go, something I didn't have for today is showing you what those actually look like. So you might have to do a test lead and then send yourself something just to kind of see what it looks like. So you know from the client's perspective what they're looking at. All right. And then that one's monthly, pretty straightforward. All right. Lead pond. So if you have a team, you can put all your leads in here and then agents can go in and grab them. This I have not messed with at all, but it's a pond. I'm sure you guys are familiar with it, that you can add leads to and kind of disperse those leads however you see fit as a team leader. All right. This part is awesome. This is fantastic for managing your leads. So I have tags and sources. You can add both of the types. So if you are in a particular market, for example, you have, I don't know, we'll just say open house, just generically, right? If you have a specific thing for your market and it's called open house, right? You can go and add that source. So when you have a smart plan for that particular lead type, then you can talk to them in a different way. And we'll get into the Spartan plans here shortly, but just kind of get your brain going as far as like, hey, if I'm adding a tag or removing a tag, it can adjust the smart plan. It can adjust how my automation is going. Same thing for sources. So if I remove a source, change a source, those things can modify your smart plans. All right, any questions so far? I don't see anything in the chat. All right, moving on. Custom fields. So I added a field to my, and you'll see under people here, I entered a field under brokerage because I do add real estate agents to my CRM for agent attraction. So I can go in and say, hey, this segment of all agents, I want to send out an email inviting them to Tuesday's Denver rally. So we have Denver rallies every Tuesday. So I try to put that out so they can come and check out what LPT is all about. So if you have any particular fields that you need to add, you can do that here. And then integration. You're going to want to go in, depending on what email you're going to use and how you work your business. You're going to go in and connect your Gmail, your Gmail calendar, right? I have Sly Broadcast. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but it's a ringless voicemail, and you'd have to check the laws on each state. But basically, I have a smart plan. I'll send an email, a text, and then I'll follow up with a ringless voicemail like 2 days later, and then I'll follow immediately up with a text saying, hey, just gave you a ring, wanted to see how everything's going, right? So it kind of shows without you actually having to pick up the phone. And this is not for example, your hot pipeline. This is not for your active leads. You're not going to want to use that approach. This is more of keeping in front of the leads and making sure they're, hey, that agent's still there, still reaching out, okay? And then you have other integrations here. One that I utilize is Calendly. It's not connected here, but because there's some issues, and I'll show you with my website, but I got to adjust that. But there's all different types of integrations that you can use. If you have BombBomb, right? All different things. You can actually integrate your dot loop into your system. So once a transaction is created, you can actually import a lot of that flow into your CRM. So Zapier is phenomenal. I don't know if you guys use this, but for instance, I have Constant Contact, which is a weekly email that I send out. And when I add a lead to my CRM, I have a Zap that goes and adds that lead directly into my constant contact. But Zap, you can do Zap for just about any type of integration. So that's a whole different class. Right? You see the other integrations here. And then there's something that's not here that you can put in there. You can actually just copy the API token and add that to the Lofty account. So basically you take this key and you add it to the, so for example, Zapier, if I were to go to Zapier and say integrate and it's not there, and then I just add that key, it'll associate. Most of the times it works, but you might have to dig in or get with customer support. All right. If you have any type of auto lead import, so if you're working with Zillow, if you're working with realtor.com, Opcity leads, things of that nature, Facebook ads, you can import all of those automatically. You can send welcome emails as they come in. You can import them as a particular lead, right? There's all different ways of doing that. So I don't work with Zillow anymore. Opcity is, in my opinion, is the worst. But leads are leads, right? So getting into the different types, you have a whole lot of different lead types. And if you don't see, there's a lot there. All right. Now going into AI Assistant. So I haven't added this yet, but I plan on using AI moving forward. I've had several LPT agents that have told me and suggested to get it, that it works really, really well. It's not the end all be all of communication. It's not perfected yet, but I think they are making some improvements on that for Lofty in the near future. If you can afford it, I suggest doing it. I'm probably going to add that this week. And you can adjust how quickly the AI reaches out. You can give it the name. You can add it its own personal picture. You can adjust how frequent and who you're actually reaching out to. So if you just want to focus on sellers, you can go and do that with your AI. So it's pretty awesome. And then you can also add your Facebook business page to talk to via Messenger your leads coming in, which is pretty neat. All right. Moving on to reporting. So you can add your goals for the year. So I have not done that. I have a goal in my head, but I haven't written it down. Shame on me. I need to do that. But I'm going to be doing this. I'm going to be creating goals here actually next week for my 2024 year. So I'm going to have all my goals in here, and then I can go into reporting and see how I'm getting up towards my goals based on what my current production is. So a pretty cool feature to keep yourself accountable. All right, lead import. I'm sure a lot of people, this is what you guys have been waiting for as far as getting your leads into the system. So you can add through Google Contacts, KV Core, Boomtown, or Sync. I'm not familiar with Sync, but it's likely another CRM that you can add through. Right? If you were with EXP like I was, I had KV Core. They didn't have this feature when I did it, so I just had to go in and add a CSV file. And you're gonna want to, one, go into your people here, and you're gonna see. Hold on, let me show you real quick before I go to that. You're gonna want to see what the actual columns say. And you can adjust all these. You can modify those, right? But if there's something that you're missing, then that's when you're going to want to go in. So Tara said her version does not have the ability to add a Facebook group page under AI tab. So let me check now that I'm in my enterprise version. I want to make sure I am in enterprise so that you guys are getting all the same information. AI assistant. So this is what it looks like if you're doing AI assistant. Start. So it looks like I was actually enrolled in AI already, which is not bad. Okay, cool. Once you have that there, is this what you're seeing, Tara? If you want to post that in the chat. And then that's probably what the reason why, if you haven't had that. If you do connect it, then you have the option, or sorry, once you subscribe to AI, I believe that's when you have the option to go in and adjust those settings with Facebook. Hopefully that answers your question. All right, moving back to lead import. So upload file, it's pretty simple. It's going to go in, you're going to find that. I'm going to go, let's just find an old, just so you guys can see. So now it's showing me, this is a very generic one, but it's showing you what it looks like. This is a sample of each one. So these are the columns here that it's trying to associate, right? My column obviously doesn't have anything, doesn't have any information, but you can choose as like, okay, this is first name, this is unsubscribe. You can adjust for each column and make sure that what your column says is accurate, and then make sure you click on the right information on the left side to match those columns, right? You can also say show only unmatched, and then you go through and adjust those to make sure everything's matched. And if you don't have one, you can skip it, right? And then when we go to next, see, it says you want to proceed. Cool. Yep, let's do it. And now it's gonna tell you exactly how to import your leads. So do I want these as company leads or private leads, right? Then you're gonna go into and add to the following segments. So are all these leads, so some of you might have, hey, I'm just gonna pull all my seller leads, import them, and then you can say, hey, seller leads. Like there's a ton of these segments. The technology AAC is going to be adjusting these. We've already talked about what the pipelines look like. Now we're going to go in and remove most of the segments and put just generic segments. And I have those that we talked about. So it's going to be a lot less here if you're doing the enterprise version. And then you can choose which agent you're going to be assigned those to if you're on a team. So you have options there. Duplicate leads, you either merge or skip. And then this is all pretty self-explanatory. You know, permission to contact, opt in, yes, yes, unless you know for a fact that you can't, right? And then you're going to import, and then it's going to tell you, hey, your imports are good. And then when you go to people, you're going to see all your leads here. Okay, they're all going to be under, I want to say they go under new leads unless you assign them a particular pipeline. So they'll be under new leads, and then you have to adjust them based on what they are. Unless what I suggest doing is having the pipelines in your CSV file already correct with your lead. So that way, when you upload them, you can associate it to that pipeline, and you don't have to go back through and then redo all your leads. Okay, where's this lead at in the pipeline? All right, moving on to settings. Export, pretty self-explanatory. You can go in and export it however you want if you have access to it. So if you're on a team leader might not give you permission to export leads. All right, now we're getting into templates. So your templates, for example, some of mine, let me go to my actual account and I can show you some of my templates. Here's the templates that I have. I have different folders for various reasons, but again, one good example is review. So I have a buyer and seller review. So how did a buyer just close recently? What I just do is I go in and in my email, and then it'll on the right, and I'll show you guys how to do this, but basically you just click on templates and you click on the one you want, and it automatically populates like this. And you see here, lead first name. So that's that agent, or excuse me, that's that lead variable. So you don't have to type in for every person if you're doing a mass email, right? And I just populate my email review, requesting reviews to my area there. So these templates can stay the way they are. And you can go back, you can create all types of different templates, right? The cool part, you can go in and separate automated email. So emails that are going to be pushed out, for example, property alerts. So you're going to want to go into this section under automated emails, and you're going to want to read them. So I know what these two look like. I created those, but these were already populated. I had to go in and change them. So I changed it, said something a little different than what it is currently, but you're going to want to adjust that. So when your property alerts go out, like we talked about earlier, your market snapshot, market report, whatever that is that's going out, you want to know what's actually been written in there, like some random stuff, or if it's not your personality or whatever the reason, go in there and adjust it. Make sure you're okay with what's getting sent to your clients. All right. Email template reports, so you can see what the rate is for these, and you can just see what people are opening or not. All right, here we go, smart plans. All right, smart plans are also known as drip campaigns. They are ways to automate and be more efficient with your follow-up. I think that's one of the hardest things in real estate for me is two things. One, getting lead generations and follow-up, right? That's what's going to make you successful, in my opinion. So one way to make things easier on the follow-up is creating smart plans. There is options for smart plans for just about any scenario. What I suggest doing is creating smart plans for your different pipelines, starting with your cold. Go in and have it to where you're getting an email just about every month, every 3 weeks. You know, there's some reporting that says, hey, a touch every 21 days is ideal. And I feel like as we progress and people are more on their phones, and AI is involved, it's that touch time is probably going to get lower and lower. So you're going to have to reach out more frequently. But you're going to want to take a look at that. So for example, this cold general follow-up buyer, and then it tells me everything that's associated with this buyer and seller and buyer. So those are the different pipelines, or sorry, those are different types of buyers or sellers. And then how many days it's going to last. So I'm going to go in, I'm going to open this, edit. So you want to start with your plan name, then who you're targeting. So if I want to target everybody, you can do that. But if I'm just looking at buyers and buyers, potentially sellers as well, then you can do that, right? Then, oh, it's not, something went wrong. Usually there's a whole lot of information down here. Oh, they edited it. Okay. So this is a Lofty update they just did. Before, it was one page, you just scroll down and you can do all of what you need to do. Now it's divided into 3 parts: settings, trigger, and actions. And with the update idea, make sure that when you get an email from Lofty that says new updates, go in there, click on it, and read them. There's a lot of great information when they provide updates. Those are tools to make you more successful. So I suggest you go in there and check it out. All right, your trigger. So I actually have not messed with this new update, but this is the idea behind it. So right now I created triggers that said, hey, here in the pipeline, I only want to reach out to those in the D cold 6 to 12 months. I want to also, hey, is there another agent? Any, doesn't matter. Most of these I've already vetted. If they do have an agent, I know, and I have that changed. Has lender, any, doesn't matter, right? So I can go in and add another trigger, how I want to see these, this pipeline. And if I want to say, if pipeline change, pause. So let's go to next, right? Pipeline has changed to, we'll just say long-term nurture, because now they're like, hey, I'm not buying for years. Don't bother me anymore. Someone says, remove my number. It's debatable if I actually put them in the do not contact. I'll probably just not reach out as frequently, because a lot of people, they just want you off their back and they don't necessarily not want the information. And then you can decide on what the conditions are for each of those and then add that to your pipeline. So when it comes to pipelines, you're probably going to need a little bit of time to play around with it. Maybe add a test segment or something like that to see how that works. But this is going to take a little bit more effort to get familiar with. All right. Actions. Last but not least, this is the part where the rubber meets the road in terms of you getting in front of your contact or your lead. So each one, so I'm going to add a step here just to show you so I don't mess with anything else. You can choose from left to right looking at how often. So if I say immediately, as soon as this pipeline, or excuse me, as soon as this smart plan is triggered, this action is going to go right away. So whether if it's email, text, postcards, so you can automate postcards, you can automate a whole lot of different things. You can automate a zap to where it just does something for you, whatever that may be, right? And I know this is starting to get a little bit into the weeds, but we want to make sure you're familiar that one, you have options, and two, you have the flexibility to get after your leads however you seem fit. Okay. So for example, I have a smart plan that's a checklist, under contract checklist, that I go in and apply. As soon as I move my client from active to under contract, this smart plan automatically goes out. It sends them an email and says, hey, congratulations, you're under contract. The next steps, inspection, earnest money, all that good stuff. And then I also have a checklist to make sure, like, hey, post my social media, go in and adjust the MLS, if you don't have a TC doing it for you already, whatever that looks like for you. Okay, however you're running your business, you can do that. But time, how frequently? Usually if I do a new smart plan, I'll say I'll wait like 3 days, so it's not so obvious. So for example, here's a scenario where you can see where that matters. I talk to the lead, they're in the hot pipeline, they're like, hey, sorry, man, I'm just not ready to do it. Let's chat down the road. I will move them into whatever pipeline I feel that it's appropriate. And then usually my first email reaching back out to them is three days or so, or whatever that may be. Okay. So you have to think about what that looks like. The idea of the smart plans is you're bringing your leads in from new to long-term, or cold to hot, to whatever yours looks like, under active clients to under contract, and it automatically flows through. So if I have someone that's in the B, which is my hot, and they go through my whole smart plan, it's going to bump them into the next one, which is the cold, and then it's going to have that whole smart plan. So I'm keeping in front of them the whole time, and they either have to tell me, hey, stop sending me stuff directly, or hey, now we're going to be working together. So it's one direction or the other. Stop, I don't want to work with you, or hey, it's not right now. So you can do that. All right. Conditional questions, you can also add, say, hey, do you have, for example, there's one, sorry. Oh, here it is, sorry. This doesn't make sense. I was looking for a specific one, but we'll just go with this one. So as a first-time home buyer, so if yes, then send them an auto email saying, hey, I know this is your first time buying a home. Here's some of the things to think about. If not, hey, I know you bought a house before. Here's some of the things to think about still if it's changed since the last time you did it. So it really gives you the ability to address whoever. So it's not just a blanket email. They're like, we just talked about that. I bought 5 houses before. Why is he sending me this email worded this way? So you have the option to do that, right? And then depending on what it is, so if I X out of that, right, and I just want to send auto text, I can do that. Usually I do text and email. So if I do email, and then immediately I'll create an auto text and say, hey, just sent you an email. Let me know if you have any questions. Okay. So that's really the down and dirty of the smart plans. Well, not really down and dirty. It's more of a high level of the smart plans. But if you have any questions, let me know. Post it in the chat, and I'll answer those questions. So pending any questions about that, we're going to go into the next one. So calls. So you can add voice messages. People call. If you can add your call scripts here. So if you're on a dialer plan, you want to add 100 leads to your dialer. Inside the dialer, you have the option to drop down your script. So if you're like, I'm importing FSBOs into my CRM, and then I have a FSBO script, I'm going to drop that down and just kind of, I can follow along as I'm looking through, as I'm going through, excuse me, as I'm going through my my leads. And then questionnaires. So typically that's how you add questions when you're on the call to make sure that you're not forgetting. So you can add whatever it is that you can send that. Actually, I haven't messed with this particular one, so that might actually be getting sent to them, but I'm not 100% sure on that one. So I apologize on not knowing exactly on that one, but yeah, well, I'll have to dig into that one. All right, now moving into text, you can do text. So if someone goes to your website, you can automatically send them. That was not applied. So thanks for visiting my website. We'll get in touch shortly. If you have any questions, free to ask, right? So you can do however you want to do that. And then that's the auto one. And then you have their text templates. So when you're creating a text, are you going in? Hold on. You're going in and you're texting your client. You can go in and say, this is, whatever the case may be, this is what I'm looking at, achieving. So for example, when I was doing calls for the Denver rallies for agent attraction, this is what I sent them. So if they don't answer, I'm sending them this auto text, and that's going to be there. I can go in there and boom, I can push it off, right? Just to make sure that they have all the information needed. So if you call them and you're like, I don't want to worry about the text. Maybe people only look at their text. They're not worried about phone calls, especially if you don't leave a voicemail. There's just something to think about. All right, and then call text settings. So you're going to want, if you're going to be using your CRM to make calls, you're going to have to go in and purchase this. All right, so these are the options that you have. I have this one now just because it has the dial pad. You can bring 100, 200, 300, or up to 200 actually leads over into the dial pad, and you just call through. I don't know if you're familiar with like RedX or there's another one, but very similar to those, not as efficient because those are actually just pure, like they're made for dialers. But this is still a great option if you're dialing within your CRM. And then you can have your phone number, whatever that is. The issue is that your personal virtual number, you can't use that for the bridge. So you actually have to have a phone number. So for example, if you need a virtual assistant that's over in the Philippines, they're like, I can't use my phone. Well, you're SOL, you need a phone number, but it can be Canada. Ironically, it has Philippines in there, or the US. That's going to be where, when you click dial down here, you call your lead. That's the number that it's going to call. You're going to get a phone call that says, I just titled, I saved the number and I saved it as chime dialer, right? And so I know when it's calling, I just answer, and then it's going to ring through your phone as if you were calling. So it's a little extra step there, but it's pretty easy. So incoming call type. So receiving calls, this is the number they're going to see. So I'm actually going to remove this and put mine because we're not working on that today. And I want to make sure that whatever calls I make are seeing my phone number. All right, and then display caller ID, sender ID information, you're going to put that number here. So you see this is I don't have an option to add my personal number there. So I just use my virtual number. So I tell people, hey, I might be calling you from my work number or my personal number. All right. Company number, you have to create one. You have to go in, buy new. You don't have to buy one. I think you get one for free when you start off. That's if you're going to use that, if it's not a virtual. All right. Next, going into here. Whew, all right. A little winded there. Anybody have any questions? you can raise your hand and then I'll unmute you if you want to chat. But anyway. All right, so that's what you're going to want to set up when you first start. So I usually do this. I do the MLS as the first thing because it takes a few days to get set up. Do that first, right? Then go through and update all your information here on the side. That takes care of your settings. Going into the people part. So Lofty has two big areas. One, you have your pipelines, right? And then you have your segments. So pipeline is for you to, and I'm not trying to insult anybody's intelligence, but basically you take it from new, cold, and you flow down like a waterfall, ideally right into the under contract pond, right? And that's the goal for that. So for me, I have mine. We have so many here. We're actually adjusting these. So we've made a list of the ones that make the most sense for majority of people, and we're going to adjust that. So you don't have to worry about there being a ton of these pipelines. So when you're going to mess with your leads, they can be adjusted. So there's just so many. There's too many, right? It's unnecessary. And then your segments. So for example, I have a local home buyer segment. I have an out-of-state segment. I have a agent segment. I have various different segments. So if I'm looking at sending an email to all my local home buyers, right, I'll click on that segment and then highlight them all, because maybe not everyone under my buyers tab or maybe my buyers are kind of spread out through different pipelines. Hopefully they are. Then I can actually capture all of them in one place. But when you're looking at the lead, so if I go, lead, so we're gonna play with this one. When you add your lead, typically you can adjust some of this information. It's kind of a box that populates if you're not bulk adding, if you're just adding a lead. So you can say, hey, who is this? Buyer, seller, buyer and seller. Remember earlier with those triggers and things. So this is kind of where they're going off of, right? For your market updates and things like that. You can say, hey, this is the type of lead that I'm looking for. First, last, email address. You can add a family member, a spouse, right? You can adjust all that information. The cool part is you can add source, tag, and you can already adjust that for, I want to say the pipeline, but I guess it doesn't. Anyway, so you can adjust all your leads information. In here, when you're nurturing your lead, you have different ways to do so. So you can go in, you can send a video, you can send a buyer tour, you can send all these different items, find them on social medias, right? You can do that. When it comes to managing your leads individually, you can make notes here and you can pin those to the top. So if you say, hey, this lead was provided by another agent, then you can go in and see that right away at the very, very top, right? You can log a call, text, or email as well, very easily up top. Second part is engagement. So if you have any populars that were sent, you can send those, or you can actually create a property or search criteria for them. So you can go in and say, hey, I just want to do min, price, bath, property type, and go. I believe once this is set, you can go in and make additional edits, because obviously we're not like, there's not much here, right? If you're looking like, hey, it has to have a garage, then you're not going to want to send your lead a bunch of properties that don't have garages, or it wants to be on the water, whatever the case may be. I believe once you set up initially, you can do that. Oh, right here, I believe. No, I have to double check on that one. So if this lead is a seller lead, you're going to add their property. You can add it here. And then that way you can actually email them market updates for their property. So it'll be associated with that. Then you can see which smart plans you can have. So you can add a smart plan, go in and say, hey, I want this 20-day touch. It tells you based on your smart plans what they are, what's actually in here. Can't go and edit it there, but you can see it, see if it makes sense. if you don't remember what it is. And then lastly, on this top part is where the transaction and docs are. So you can add your docs. So if, for example, you're maybe if you're showing home, this might be too much, but if you're showing homes, you want to add all the MLS homes that you saw in here, or if you're under contract, you can start adding contract documents. You can create the transaction here, but if you're under the active client and you take them under contract, or I'm sorry, the closed pipeline, it'll automatically populate a transaction pop-up window that you can go in and add all your information to include commission and all that good stuff. But I usually try to add CDAs here, anything from title, I'll add that so I can keep track of all my clients' information. I just one-stop shop, right? And then we already went over the details, but you can add tags as you see fit. And then this lead score is based off of various factors. So if they have like the good phone number, good email, and then if they're actually engaging your website, the lead score will go up. So when you go into people, you can actually see lead score is, it's not here because I think we're on the enterprise side. Usually there's more. Oh, there we go. Sorry. Anyway, you can drag and drop. You should be able to drag and drop these on your personal one, but bringing that field over or knowing where that field's at to be able to go and see, hey, lead score. I'm going to filter that, and I want to go after the leads that are most engaged. Because if they have a high lead score, they're likely looking at your website. They're likely curious about what's going on, so they're probably likely to buy sooner than someone that has a lower one. So that's helpful. And then going back into here, I believe that's it on that side. Oh, the cool part is you can actually assign a lender. So as soon as I assign my lender to this lead, my lender will not only know that I did that, but also they can see the file. So if I can say, if I do log note at Sam, right, but he has to be actually assigned to it for it to pop up so I can tag him if he's assigned to it in here. Or if you're working with another agent, like, oh, look, Jennifer Draper, she's our broker. I can tag someone and say, hey, take a look at this if you're working together on something, right? Which is really cool. Appointments and tasks. So appointments, you can put it in here to automatically go to your personal calendar if you have your calendar integrated with your system. And this way, you're able to make sure, like, hey, I got a showing appointment. I go in, I put that in there. Or if I have a listing appointment, you can go in and look in there. So for historical purposes, you can go back to that lead and like, oh yeah, we had an appointment in February. Now you can go back and be like, hey, we met back in February, went over your home details. There's, any updates, now we're in March or whatever this might be. Right. So you can put reminders. This is cool part. Reminder, not right now. I usually do 15 minutes prior to the event. And then that way I'm like, oh crap, I got a call to make, or I got to hop on a phone. My client's supposed to be expecting my call, whatever the case may be. So that's pretty cool. And then tasks. So as you're going in and you're managing your leads, however you figure out, however your system is, right? You go in, you want to make sure that you add a follow-up task from when's the next thing you're going to do. This is how you're going to do that. You're going to go in and say, well, I plan on sending a text to my client, say, happy birthday, because you just realized it was their birthday. And you can do that today or a specific date and then a specific time, and then also a reminder, right? So there's a lot of things you can do with the task. Cool part about the birthday is that there's a birthday option in here that we're talking, now that we're talking about it. You can put your client's birthday, and then you can have a smart plan that sends out a birthday card directly to them, like 7 days prior, I think is when it like buys it and starts making it and then sends it out, which is kind of cool because that's another touch. It's not that expensive, but you got thousands and thousands and thousands of clients. You're likely not going to have several birthdays in one day, so it's not going to add up that much. All right, you can see the history of everything here in this section. I can scroll down, or I can display. I just want to see, all the text related to this client. Right. I want to see the system log. What happened? You know, if you're, for example, your team lead goes in and changes something, like you can see that there. You can be like, oh, they added a tag or whatever it may be. You can do that. All right. So the details on the side, I think we went over that already. The registration date is when you uploaded this to your system, or when they became a lead, either via your website or via open house, or however that lead was generated. It'll show you that there. This is when I uploaded my sphere of influence contact list. That's why it's showing October 3rd, 2021. All right. And also you can go through in this visual, you can go through and just go to the next lead this way. Instead of going back out, you can just click in and go through your leads that way. So you can add tasks and you're going through each bucket, ideally, as you see fit. All right. Now for the larger concept, and we're creeping up on time. So I'm about to, well, actually, no, we're not. 9:15. Yeah, we are. Holy moly, this is going fast. All right. So we're going to probably have to another time go into detail on these, but on this side, you can filter what you're looking for. So if I want to say today's opportunities, it's gonna populate that, or not contacted, it's gonna populate that. You can add a filter, say, oh, the agent is Brandon, only there, right? Or whatever that may be, filter. But be careful, because when I was initially in here, I'd have a filter here, and then I go to my future flow, whatever that pipeline is, and I realized there's no one there. And I was like, what is going on? And then I came back over to filter. It's a silly mistake, right? But it happens. And I go back over here, like, oh, I have all these filters on. That's why. So I reset. And obviously this isn't a good example because I only have 4 leads as an example here. But then you can see all your leads populate. So don't forget that when we're looking into that. All right, next thing, and then we're gonna probably shut it off for today, is that you can highlight up to 200. I want to say you can send mass email, mass text. You can send it a dialer. So if you're looking at making calls, you can do a ringless a ringless voicemail. You can do all these other items here. You can change pipelines, so you can go in and mass edit your leads, so you're not just looking at excuse me, looking at one by one. If I'm looking at sending an email, like today, I'm going to be sending emails and text to everybody saying, hey, rates are just dropped. Like, now's a great time to get after it, get pre-approved. Let's do this, right? So that covers what we're going to do today. We had about 10 minutes. I would love to have a conversation. So let me stop the sharing. Let me go